Good afternoon. Thank you. I tell folks that my father is a Baptist minister, and so that means two things. It means he believed in laying of hands, both physically and also spiritually, but he also believed in call and response. So I'm going to try that one more time. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Rodney Bullard, and I am the executive director of the Chick-fil-A Foundation. Played that video because I realized many of you all are very familiar with Chick-fil-A, and many of you all may not have heard of Chick-fil-A ever before. So Chick-fil-A is a quick service restaurant here based out of Atlanta, Georgia, but in the United States of America, and for the most part, just a U.S. company, although we are expanding beyond our borders in 2019. But I showed you that video because it's important to the ethos of who Chick-fil-A is. That video actually was never meant to be shown publicly. It was a training video for our employees so that they could understand that the 3 million people who go through over 2,100 Chick-fil-A restaurants, that each and every one of them has a story. That some of them are coming because they're celebrating something, some of them are coming because they're euphoric about something, and some of them are coming because it's tough and they're trying to get away from something. When I think about that video, I think about our hospitality, I think about how we want our team members to show up, but I also think about a story a friend of mine told me. A friend of mine by the name of Dr. Gregory Ellison is at the Emory School of Theology in Atlanta, Georgia. And he tells a story that when he was 6 years old, he has an Aunt Dot, and he loved Aunt Dot. And he said he would go to Aunt Dot and ask her questions. And he said Aunt Dot was sage and wise, and Aunt Dot would always have the right answer for him. And he said one day he went to Aunt Dot and he said, Aunt Dot, I have a question for you. And she said, baby, ask me anything. You're my favorite. And he said, yes, I go with whatever Greg tells me. And he says, no, it's a big question. And she says, just ask it. And so he says, Aunt Dot, I want to know how to change the world. How do you change the world? How do you change the world? And Aunt Dot reared back because it was a big question. And she said, baby, I will be honest with you, I don't know how to change the world. But what I do know is that you can impact the 3 feet around you. That you can always connect with somebody around you. You can do big and small things to connect with the 3 feet around you. I think about that when I think about that video because literally in that video, our customers are within 3 feet of us. And there are small things that we can do in a hospitable way. But I also think about it now because Chick-fil-A is a $10 billion company. And how do we, in a proverbial sense, impact the 3 feet around us? I am an American football fan. I am a long-suffering Atlanta Falcons fan. We lost yesterday after being up with 7 minutes to go, and we went into overtime and still lost the game. And if you saw the Super Bowl 2 years ago, we were up 28-3 and still lost the game. And I remember as a child going to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium now, the Georgia Dome then, and I would go to that stadium. And what I didn't know until I became an adult is that across the street from the stadium were neighborhoods where 50% of the children were failing to graduate from high school, where 60% of the crime in our city occurred in those neighborhoods, where 30% of the homes were burned out, not vacant, but literally burned out. I didn't know that because even though they were within my proverbial 3 feet, I wasn't going across the street. I think about what's across the street in all of our communities. And so now as the executive director of Chick-fil-A, we get a chance to cross the street. Because what we think about when we think about philanthropy, what we think about when we think about charity is that this is not about philanthropy. And this is not about charity. This is in fact leadership. As I listened to each of the presentations, that's what I thought. That you are leading in your community. That leadership is about solving hard problems. And you're in fact solving hard problems. They may be different problems. They may be in different locales. But they are each problems that need our special attention. I appreciate what Richard just presented. I think it was amazing. We are embarking on the same endeavor in Atlanta. And so the neighborhoods across the street from where our football team plays Those neighborhoods have been like that for the past 70 years. Those children have generationally grown up like that for 70 years. But in Atlanta, we have Coca-Cola. In Atlanta, we have Chick-fil-A. We will be the third largest quick service restaurant in America in 10 months. In Atlanta, we have UPS. In Atlanta, we have Delta. In Atlanta, we have Mercedes-Benz. In Atlanta, we have Porsche. We have the third largest collection of Fortune 500 headquarters in America, in our city of Atlanta. And so the prosperity that is across the other side of the street has come together to create a $110 million and growing fund. We went to go see how other communities, in fact, impacted poverty. We went to Cincinnati for one, and we went to an organization called 3CDC. We saw what they were doing, and they had raised over $1 billion from Procter & Gamble, from Macy's, from Duke Energy. And they had brought that money to bear to redevelop communities, really within an 11 square block in Cincinnati. And what they found, though, was as they deployed that money, they did it in a way that gentrified or displaced the legacy residents. And so what we're doing in our community in Atlanta is we're going in with $110 million, a smaller sum, but a growing sum, with the understanding that the legacy residents, those who already live there, that they also want a great community, that they want to be a part of the improvement. You see, in my mind, gentrification is not when someone comes in and it gets better. It is when you owned it and somehow you lost it, or you lived in a place and somehow you were displaced, and then when you left, it got better afterwards and you didn't participate in the value creation, or you didn't participate in the boat rising. Everybody, we have found, wants quality education, wants services, wants to look out and see a wonderful aesthetic. Everybody wants that. And so we're trying to give that for those residents who are living in the communities on the west side of Atlanta, across the street from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. A $1.65 billion stadium, by the way. And so we're excited about that opportunity, but we're not just giving money to give money. We're focused on economic mobility. We know in Atlanta, if you're a child born into poverty, you have a 4% chance of getting out of poverty, going to the other end of the spectrum. Just a 4% chance. We believe that if we operate on the access of education, we give kids the opportunity of education, then we can help pull them up. But we believe education is just one part of the puzzle, because you also have to have access. I can send you to Harvard, but if I can't get you a job, if I can't get you relationships, at some point, access is needed. And so we're also operating on that spectrum. And finally, we're operating on the spectrum of workforce development. I was in Silicon Valley last week, and I saw robots literally making pizzas. I saw all sorts of technological advances that will overwhelm the children of poor communities if we don't give them those opportunities. I saw autonomous vehicles. If you think about it now, we're teaching kids literally to be truck drivers, a job that in 20 years won't be here. So how are we impacting and helping these children to keep up with the future? So we have invested in programs like Hollis STEM Academy. Hollis STEM Academy, the kids literally on the west side of Atlanta previously had a 50% graduation rate, and now they're coding. Now they're creating and building robots. We're investing in programs like 3DE Education. Don't like the name. We changed it from JA Academy to 3DE Education, so I'm still working on that. But 3DE Education allows for children in high school to receive MBA-type classes. They are taught in the same way that MBA students are, in a Socratic method and a case method. And then they get a chance to solve real problems for real companies. These kids at a high school in Atlanta, Banneker High School, where the graduation rate was only 35% and a transiency rate of 50%, they now are presenting to the CEO of Mercedes-Benz. And to see that transformation in their confidence and their expectation for their lives, that's amazing. We have over 296,000 children who are going through a program called the Discovery Center. where they learn about entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And they get a chance to understand that brands like Waffle House and Coca-Cola and Delta, those are Atlanta brands, and they are Atlantans, and they can do the same thing. They can start businesses too. So that expectation is important. I'll leave you with this. The question Greg asked was, how do you change the world? How do you change the world? I truly believe that after considering how you change the world, is that you change the world by doing just what you all are doing in this room. That you take care of the part that you can take care of, your 3 feet. You take care of your 3 feet, and you take care of your 3 feet. And if we do that with an awareness of one another, if we do that with an awareness that we can only do what we can do, but what we can do is powerful, and what we can do is important. If we do that collectively, we can change the world. Thank you.